From the very beginning of the gaming industry, games caught the attention not just of players and developers, but also of people trying to profit off other users' accounts, files, and trust. Over time, tons of weird stories built up around games infected mods, fake versions of popular titles, viruses hiding in launchers, the Steam Workshop, and even on game discs. Some of it was just creepypasta and internet urban legends, but some of it was very real, and people ended up losing their account files and money because of it. Level 1. Loapi is an Android Trojan that cybersecurity experts called a jack-of-all-trades virus because it could pull off a whole bunch of different tasks, depending on whatever the attackers needed at the moment. It usually spread through fake antivirus apps, phone cleaner apps, or APK files with adult content that got advertised on shady websites. Once installed, the program would start demanding extended permissions and access to all the device's functions. The really nasty part was that if someone tried to revoke those permissions, the virus could actually block them from doing it, closing the settings menu, kicking the user back to the home screen, or just locking access to system settings entirely. But Loapi's real danger was something else. This virus didn't have just one function. One version could spam ads non-stop. Another would secretly sign the phone owner up for paid services through text messages. Some versions used infected devices to launch DDoS attacks on websites, and others mined cryptocurrency. It was actually the mining that made this virus especially dangerous. Researchers found that under constant load, phones would start overheating badly. In some cases, the batteries actually swelled up after about 2 days of the virus running non-stop. Reira Li Agos, an extremely obscure internet legend about a dangerous Android app that briefly showed up on Google Play before getting pulled fast. According to the story, the app looked totally harmless at first, but right after launch, a red figure in a white mask would suddenly appear on screen, with creepy audio playing in the background taken from the Japanese Akamanto legend. A few seconds later, the app would start endlessly spamming pop-ups asking you to download extra files, and then messages would show up claiming your device was infected with a critical virus. In some versions of the legend, the system would throw up a warning saying the phone was damaged and would shut down in a few seconds. After that, a broken Android mascot icon would appear on screen and the phone itself would basically turn into a brick. The story spread fast across YouTube and horror forums where staged screen recordings and proof of the app's existence started popping up, but no actual confirmation that this virus ever existed on Google Play was ever found. Pretty much every mention of it traces back to either creepypastas or fan-made recreations. WannaLocker is an Android virus that's basically considered a mobile version of the famous WannaCry. It showed up around 2017 and spread especially hard in China through gaming forums and sites offering mods for mobile games. Most of the time, the virus disguised itself as plugins and add-ons for King of Glory, one of the most popular mobile games in the country. Users thought they were downloading a cheat, a mod, or some game add-on, but instead they were installing ransomware. Once launched, WannaLocker would hide its icon from the app list, and sometimes even change the phone's wallpaper to make the infection look scarier. After that, the virus started encrypting files on the device photos, videos, and other user data. The strangest part of this story is the ransom amount. Unlike most ransomware, WannaLocker asked for a pretty small sum, around 40 UN, which was roughly $5 to $6 back then. And payment wasn't requested through Bitcoin, but through regular Chinese services like WeChat Pay, Alipay, or QQ. It seems like the whole thing was a purely psychological play. The amount was so small that a lot of users just preferred to pay quickly rather than try to recover their files or deal with the virus on their own. The Minecraft Stingray, another old internet legend about an infected pirated version of Minecraft. According to the story, the virus spread through shady websites with names like Minecraft Freedom Load or Minecraft APK Free. At first, the game worked completely normally. Players could create worlds, gather resources, build houses, and explore the map just like in regular Minecraft. But after a while, weird stuff would start happening. The world would go empty, animals and mobs would disappear, the sky would darken, and the whole atmosphere of the game would turn super creepy. Then, out of nowhere, a jump scare would hit usually Steve's or Herobrine's face with a loud, distorted scream. In some versions of the legend, the game would then freeze completely, and the device would start lagging and rebooting on its own. Just like with the FNAF Stingray virus, no real proof of this virus was ever found. It's considered your typical creepypasta, born out of people's fear of pirated APK files and viruses in mobile games. Most of the creepy icons, screenshots, and evidence showed up years later, and were made by fans specifically to feed the legend. Most likely, this whole myth was inspired by other similar stories about infected game versions, especially the FNAF Stingray virus. FalseGuide. This one isn't an internet legend, it's a real story that happened back in 2017. That's when Google Play got flooded with fake guide and walkthrough apps for popular games. On the surface, everything looked completely normal. Regular tips, maps, hints, and cheats for mobile games. People downloaded these apps without thinking twice, since game guides were super popular at the time. But the real problem was that some of these guides asked for suspicious permissions that a basic text app had no business needing. The virus itself worked in 2 stages. First, the app would install and behave innocently to avoid raising any flags. But later, it could secretly receive commands from remote servers and download extra malicious files in the background. Once those extra components were loaded, the infected phone would start aggressively spamming ads, opening shady websites, and carrying out commands from the attackers. Devices also got roped into a botnet, a massive network of infected phones controlled remotely. The virus spread incredibly fast because these guides took literally a couple of hours to make and were mass uploaded to Google Play in dozens of copies. Depending on the estimate, the number of infected devices ranged anywhere from 600,000 to several million. Angry Neighbor. This one's a more recent internet legend about an infected mobile game tied to Hello Neighbor clones. The story really started spreading around 2024 to 2025 through TikTok and YouTube. At first, everything was normal. You'd run around the house, hide from the neighbor, and explore rooms just like in regular Hello Neighbor. But according to the legend, after getting caught by the neighbor, the game would suddenly change. Instead of the usual you lost screen, a red, distorted face of the neighbor would show up as a jump scare, and then the app would crash. And when you launched the game again, that's when things got really creepy. The main menu would switch to Arabic text reading "Bad Neighbor." The world itself would get darker. The rooms would look glitched and broken, and weird NPCs you couldn't interact with would start wandering the map. Sometimes fake copies of the neighbor would show up, and creepy music would start playing in certain rooms, including audio from the Suicide Mouse creepypasta. At the end, you'd reach a long hallway where the word "run" would appear huge on screen. Then the game would crash again with another jump scare. From there, the legend turns into your typical virus story. Supposedly, the app would start stealing data from your phone, overheating the device, making it vibrate non-stop, and on rooted Android phones, it could even wipe the whole system. But there's zero actual proof this virus exists. Pretty much everything points to this being just another creepypasta inspired by the 2 previous stories. Most of the proof videos turned out to be either staged or mods made specifically to fit the legend. Adult Player. An Android ransomware virus that showed up back in 2015. It didn't spread through Google Play, instead it came from shady APK sites, where the app was disguised as a regular video player for adult content. Once installed, the program asked for device administrator rights. A lot of users just clicked agree without realizing that meant giving the app full control over the phone and making it way harder to remove. Right after that, the virus would pop up a fake Android update screen so the owner wouldn't get suspicious. It would check if the phone had a front camera and secretly snap a photo of the user. Then the phone would lock up, and that photo would show right there on the screen. This was the virus's way of messing with the victim's head, making it feel like the attackers were actually watching them through the device. The ransom was around $500, and a simple restart didn't help at all. The second the phone turned back on, the lock screen popped right back up. The most common fix was booting Android into safe mode, revoking the app's admin rights, and only then manually removing the virus. Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the Stingray virus. An old internet legend about an infected version of FNAF 2 that spread through third-party APK sites like Aptoid sometime in the mid-2000s. According to the story, the game looked completely normal at first, and there was nothing different about it compared to the regular FNAF. Everything worked fine: the menu, the animatronics, the knights, the jump scares. But things got weird after you beat Night 5. When the guard's paycheck screen popped up, the game would suddenly freeze. The screen would go black, and then a jump scare of a disfigured, eyeless Chica would hit you with a really loud scream. From there, the legend got even creepier. Supposedly, the app would start stealing data from your phone, sending messages to your contacts, and sometimes even deleting files off your device. In some versions of the story, phrases like "obey" or "be hacked, submit," or "you will be hacked" would show up on screen. But honestly, this whole thing is most likely just an internet myth that picked up more details over time. A lot of the so-called proof, screenshots, and jump scares turned out to be fan-made recreations put together years after the legend first showed up. Even that famous gray Freddy icon people often link to this virus actually belongs to a real Android virus called Android.elite. It did have similar features, but it had no direct connection to Five Nights at Freddy's 2 whatsoever. Kawendra Zpax. a fake ransomware horror app made specifically to scare people. Right after launch, the app shows a message claiming all your phone's data has already been stolen and is about to get leaked on the dark web unless you send Bitcoin to the wallet address it provides. A countdown timer would show up on screen along with a password entry field and a bunch of warnings designed to make it feel like your device had actually been hacked. The main gimmick of the app was a creepy clown with a floating face in some versions called Kawendra. The APK could change your phone's wallpaper to a picture of this clown, and sometimes it would even flood your gallery with copies of the same image. Some users claim the app would reopen itself after being closed or wouldn't let them exit properly, which made the whole thing feel like a real virus. But the original version that spread online wasn't actually a real ransomware virus. The Bitcoin wallet inside the app didn't even work, and most of the hack was just fake screen lock effects, scary messages, and pre-programmed scares. That said, there was a real problem here. The APK was spreading through sketchy websites, so modified versions floating around could easily have contained an actual virus. Because of that, the story picked up a bunch of rumors over time and turned into almost a full-blown creepypasta about a cursed app. Level 2. TLauncher spyware allegations. This one's tied to a debate around TLauncher that's been going on for years, a third-party Minecraft launcher that's basically a pirated version of the game. For years now, reports have popped up online from users claiming that after installing TLauncher, they started running into problems with their accounts. People talked about login attempts on Discord, Epic Games, Riot Games, Battle.net, even YouTube. Some accounts got hijacked without the password ever being entered. That's where the theory came from that the issue might not be about stolen passwords at all, but about hijacked session tokens and browser cookies. In simpler terms, the attacker doesn't get your password, they get your already active login session. That means they can get into your account without triggering the usual new login notification. That's exactly why TLauncher quickly earned a reputation as spyware. But here's the important part. No widely accepted technical proof has ever surfaced, showing that TLauncher itself actually contains spyware or steals accounts. Most of the accusations are based on personal stories from users, forum discussions, and suspicious coincidences. The TLauncher developers themselves have denied all of it. They've pointed to virus total scans and filed digital signatures, insisting the launcher is safe. In the end, the whole thing is still up in the air. Some people write it off as typical paranoia around pirated launchers, while others still recommend not logging into any accounts with sensitive data or payment info through TLauncher. Fake Cyberpunk 2077 mobile APK. When Cyberpunk came out, the internet got flooded with fake APK files claiming to be a mobile version of the game, even though one never officially existed. YouTube and shady websites started pumping out videos and articles with titles like Cyberpunk 2077 mobile free download. No sign-up required. It all looked pretty convincing official game art. Fake ratings, made-up studio names, slick neon menus styled just like Cyberpunk. But in reality, it was just a scam. In a lot of cases, users didn't get any game at all. After downloading, you'd get thrown into an endless loop of device checks, surveys, ad redirects, and affiliate links. So the whole thing was built around inflating ad revenue and harvesting personal data. But there were more dangerous versions too. Some of these APKs actually contained ransomware. Once installed, they'd start encrypting files on the phone, changing the extensions of documents and photos, then demand Bitcoin to restore access. The scam worked perfectly because of the massive hype around Cyberpunk. People were searching everywhere for a mobile version of the game and downloading anything they could find without even checking where it came from. Minecraft skin malware. This one sounds like another creepypasta, but back in 2018, the story about malicious Minecraft skins actually happened for real. Researchers found that specially crafted Minecraft skins could exploit a vulnerability and run malicious code on a user's computer. On the surface, these skins looked exactly like any other skin. People would just download cosmetic character models from the official Minecraft site, figuring the platform was completely safe. But hidden inside the files was a malicious script. According to researchers, the malware's capabilities were pretty basic, deleting files, damaging the system, and various trolling effects. Some users said that after getting infected, weird messages would pop up on screen. One of the most famous ones read something like, "Congratulations, you've used up your internet for life." The story went viral fast, mostly because of how absurd it was. It turned out that even a regular Minecraft skin, downloaded straight from the official site, could theoretically become a way to spread malware if there was a vulnerability in the system. After the issue went public, Mojang released a fix and closed the vulnerability. Cash Magnet. This was an Android app that promised users passive income just for running in the background. The creators claimed the app would automatically watch ads, rack up points, and earn the phone's owner money, gift cards, or even crypto. To victims, it looked like an easy way to make cash straight from their phone. But researchers later found out the app's real purpose was something else entirely. In reality, Cash Magnet was being used for ad fraud. The virus automatically faked ad views, simulated clicks on ads, downloaded apps, and carried out other actions that generated profit, not for the user, but for the people behind the scheme. And even after the original cash magnet got pulled from Google Play, the story didn't end there. The same developers started pushing the virus out under new names and disguises. Some known examples included games and apps like Latalink and Dot's one-line connector. Users thought they were downloading a regular puzzle game or utility, but they were actually installing the exact same virus under a different name. Later on, the whole scheme got linked to a much bigger virus family called Symbet. On top of faking ad activity, the virus also collected device info, location data, and other personal information through permissions that users granted without really looking at what they were agreeing to. This scheme was especially active in Brazil, Argentina, the US, and the UK. The COVID-19 tracker, APK. This was one of the most notorious mobile scams from the early days of the pandemic. When panic around the coronavirus spread worldwide, scammers wasted no time turning the topic into a way to spread malware. One of these apps was a fake infection tracker that showed a real-time map of the virus spreading, along with stats. The app looked like a normal news service covering the pandemic, so a lot of people installed it without thinking twice. But in reality, it was ransomware. Once installed, the app asked for a massive list of dangerous permissions, accessibility access, device admin rights, and even permission to ignore battery restrictions. When the user tapped the big scan for coronavirus button, instead of an infection map, they got a message saying their phone was locked. The malware demanded payment in Bitcoin and threatened to delete or leak personal data, contacts, photos, videos, even social media accounts. Later on, though, researchers found that at least one version of the virus never actually encrypted any files. Basically, it wasn't real ransomware at all, just a screen lock with threats designed to pressure the user. Inside the app, researchers even found a built-in unlock code that the developers had left right in the code. If you knew that code, you could unlock your phone without paying a cent. The malware also tried to hide itself. It removed its icon from the home screen and disappeared from the recent apps list, so users couldn't easily find and delete it. Cold Javelins. This is a pretty clever way of spreading Android malware disguised as an ordinary mobile puzzle game, similar to Candy Crush. But here's the interesting part. The infection didn't actually start with the game at all. It began with a fake app on Google Play called Update WhatsApp Messenger. It disguised itself as a WhatsApp update and even used the name WhatsApp Inc., tweaking small details to make it look official. The trick worked so well that the app racked up over 1 million downloads. Once installed, the fake WhatsApp app would hide itself from the phone, its icon would disappear, and its name would go blank. That made it really hard for people to even figure out where the problem was coming from. After that, the app would start flooding the phone with ads and constantly redirecting the user back to Google Play. It was through those ads that the second stage of the malware spread a game called Devil Lines. On the surface, it looked like a completely normal, colorful puzzle game with no signs of anything malicious. But in the background, the app was connecting to remote servers, generating fake ad clicks, and collecting information about the user's device. What made this whole scheme so dangerous was exactly how normal it looked. Hidden ads. This was a whole family of Android adware viruses that spent years sneaking onto Google Play, disguised as handy phone cleaning and speed boosting apps. They usually went by names like Junk Cleaner, Easy Cleaner, Power Doctor, Super Clean, and similar stuff. Some of them looked exactly like normal system optimizers. A few of these apps managed to rack up hundreds of thousands, sometimes even millions of downloads before Google pulled them from the store. The main problem was that the virus kicked in right after installation, sometimes without the user even opening the app. It would launch hidden background processes, and after that, the phone would start endlessly spamming ads, full-screen banners, pop-ups, and random ad pages popping up right in the middle of normal use. To make removal harder, some versions of the virus would rename themselves to look like system apps, such as Google Play or Settings. Because of that, users often couldn't even tell which app was actually causing the problem. One well-known version disguised itself as a Minecraft clone called Craft Forest Pixel Art Robo. But the nastiest thing about hidden ads was just how persistent it was. Even after one batch of apps got removed, the virus would quickly come back under new names with different icons and fresh developer accounts. In the end, the whole fight against hidden ads turned into an endless game of whack-a-mole for Google. Obey or be hacked. This was a pretty terrifying Android virus from 2014 that disguised itself as a fake version of Angry Birds Transformers. Once launched, the app asked for device administrator rights to finish the installation. If the user agreed, the virus immediately started destroying data on the phone. First, it would format the SD card and wipe all the files stored there. But the most infamous part of this virus wasn't the data wiping. It was the constant psychological pressure it put on people. The malware started interfering with WhatsApp, Facebook, SMS, and other messaging apps. Every time someone tried to open a messenger, a huge image would pop up over the screen with the phrase, "Obey" or "Be hacked." At the same time, the virus hid notifications notifications for new messages. So texts and messages were technically arriving, but the user just couldn't see them. On top of that, the infected phone would automatically start sending contacts texts like "Elite has hacked you, obey," or "be hacked." Unlike most ransomware, the goal here wasn't making money. From what it looks like, the creators were mostly just trying to scare victims, cause chaos on the device and mess with people psychologically. Fake WhatsApp update. This was a wave of viral scams that disguised themselves as a WhatsApp update packed with new features and unusual themes. Most often, people were promised a pink WhatsApp, some exclusive design, hidden features, or a premium version of the messenger. Victims got messages with links to sites that looked just like official WhatsApp or Google Play pages. There, users were prompted to download an APK update file. Once installed, the virus usually didn't wreck the phone right away. Instead, it went after one of the most dangerous permissions on Android: access to notifications. Once it got that permission, the app started reading notifications from messaging apps, WhatsApp, Telegram, Signal, Skype, Viber, and others. And that's where things got really ugly. Whenever a new message came in, the virus would automatically send that same scam link to all of the person's contacts, using their own account. So an infected phone basically turned into a spam bot, spreading the virus further on its own through the owner's friends and contacts. These schemes spread especially fast through TikTok, Facebook, and WhatsApp forwards. In the Portuguese-speaking corner of the internet, the story blew up massively. Level 3. Block Blasters is a pretty fresh story that went down on Steam in the summer of 2025. At first, the game looked completely harmless, a small free 2D platformer where you ran through levels, jumped over obstacles, and dodged enemies. Nothing suspicious at all at first glance, but about a month after launch, the developers pushed an update that had a real virus baked into it, and the nasty part was that it spread through the official Steam update system, meaning people got infected just by launching the game after updating. The virus was built to steal crypto, passwords, and other sensitive info. Researchers later found crypto stealers on infected systems, programs designed to grab login credentials, and even attempts to automatically add antivirus exclusions so the malicious files wouldn't get flagged. Over 200 users were affected, with total damages estimated at around $150,000. The most well-known victim was Latvian streamer Rastalant, who reportedly had more than $30,000 in Solana stolen from him. The story blew up especially hard because part of that money had been raised for cancer treatment. After the scandal broke, Valve pulled the game from Steam and urged users to scan their systems, change their passwords, and lock down their accounts. It later came out that the developers' own Steam accounts may have been hacked, with the malicious updates uploaded through that compromised access. The Coconut Game. A pretty strange computer worm discovered back in 2003. It spread through emails disguised as a harmless little mini-game called the Coconut Game. Once launched, users would see a simple game where you had to throw coconuts at a character on screen. It looked like a cheap early 2000s Flash game. But the real twist was something else entirely. Players were told that their score determined how many files on their computer would get infected. The worse you did, the more damage got done. Meanwhile, in the background, the worm was copying itself throughout the system and mailing infected files to everyone in the user's Windows address book. On top of that, it infected exe files, which meant the game could pop up again whenever other programs on the computer were opened. The virus is believed to have been created by a Belgian hacker going by the name Gigabyte. According to researchers, it reportedly emerged out of some kind of conflict between him and security expert Graham Cluley. Despite its unusual concept, this worm never went global. Compared to something on the level of I Love You or My Doom, most experts see it more as a proof of concept and an odd little experiment than a full-blown, large-scale cyber attack. Genshin Impact anti-cheat used for ransomware. To protect against cheaters, Genshin Impact installed a driver called MHYPROT2.SYS. Like a lot of modern anti-cheat systems, it ran with very high system privileges and had deep access to Windows. The problem showed up later, when attackers figured out they could use this driver for their own purposes. Instead of building their own malicious driver from scratch, they started grabbing the already signed, trusted Windows file from Genshin Impact and using it to disable antivirus programs and other protection systems on infected computers. Once that protection was knocked out, a full-blown ransomware payload could load onto the system without any pushback, encrypting files and demanding a ransom. What made this especially nasty was that the attackers didn't even have to write their own code, they just used a legitimate game's anti-cheat as their attack tool. Fake Fortnite V-Bucks generator. This is one of the oldest and most widespread scams tied to Fortnite. The scheme was about as simple as it gets. Users were promised free V-Bucks, cheats, aimbots, or some secret currency generator. All of this spread through YouTube, Discord, TikTok, sketchy websites, and shady exe files. Most often, someone would land on a slick-looking site where they had to enter their Fortnite username and pick how many V-Bucks they wanted. After that, an endless chain of verification steps kicked in. Users got bounced around through surveys, ad pages, fake verification systems, or sites trying to steal their Epic Games account. So in the end, nobody actually got any V-Bucks. But there were more dangerous versions too. Some of these generators actually offered a program to download onto your computer. And inside those files were real viruses, spyware, or Trojans that messed with browser and network settings. The main reason this scheme worked so well was how convincing it looked. These sites copied Fortnite's style almost perfectly, same fonts, same colors, same logos, even fake badges like Epic Approved or Verified Generator. To a kid or teenager, it looked exactly like an official service. In the end, people either lost their Epic Games account or got their computer infected with a virus and walked away with absolutely nothing. Color Block is a small puzzle game from Google Play that turned out to be linked to the DiviMap Android Trojan back in 2017. At first, the app was completely clean, but the developers played it smart. For short stretches of time, they'd push out infected updates, then switch back to the regular, safe version of the game, which is exactly what made the virus so hard to catch. Users who happened to update during one of those infected windows got the virus on their device while everyone else just saw the normal game, so the app kept looking totally safe. Once infected, the virus would try to get root access to the device through special exploits, and if it pulled that off, the Trojan could mess directly with the system files and even shut down Google's built-in Verify Apps protection, the feature that's supposed to warn users about malicious apps. With that protection disabled, other viruses could be installed on the phone quietly without any real warnings popping up. Once the scheme was exposed, Google pulled Color Block from the store. Electrum. In late 2018, users of the Electrum crypto wallet started getting strange in-app messages demanding they urgently install an update. It all looked completely official, just the wallet's normal notification system, so most people didn't suspect a thing. But the update turned out to be fake. Attackers had set up their own malicious Electrum servers. When a user's wallet connected to one of these and they tried to make a transaction, the server would throw an error and prompt them to download a new mandatory version. The link led to a fake site hosting an infected update. Once installed, the attackers got access to the wallet's data and tried to drain users' funds. Estimates vary, but around 250 bitcoins were stolen during this campaign. The Electrum story became really well known in the crypto community because the scheme looked so convincing. The message didn't show up in a browser or an email. It appeared right inside the wallet itself, which made the fake update feel completely legit. The Capcom system driver incident in Street Fighter V. In September 2015, the PC version of Street Fighter V ended up at the center of a major scandal following one of the game's updates. Along with the patch, a driver called Capcom.sys was quietly installed on players' computers. Officially, it was there as anti-cheat and anti-piracy protection, but the problem was that the driver ran at the kernel level, meaning it had maximum access to the Windows operating system. That kind of driver can potentially be exploited by other malware as a backdoor for privilege escalation. In other words, if an attacker found a way to interact with it, they could potentially gain very deep access to a user's computer. This sparked a huge wave of criticism around Street Fighter V. Even though the game itself wasn't a virus, plenty of users argued the anti-cheat's behavior was already looking way too much like spyware or malware. After the backlash, Capcom released an update that removed Capcom.sys and later even put out a separate utility to fully remove the driver from people's systems. Octopus City Blues. This indie game got caught up in a pretty unusual Steam scam back in 2015. Someone put together an almost perfect copy of the game's Steam page. Same screenshots, trailers, descriptions, the whole layout so the fake looked completely real. The page offered a demo download, supposedly around an hour of gameplay across a few levels. But instead of an actual demo file, users got a link to an outside site loaded with malware. The scheme worked for a while precisely because everything looked so convincing to a regular user. It was just another indie game page on Steam. The developers and fans caught on pretty fast and started leaving warnings in the comments, but some of those got deleted, which let the fake page keep looking legit. Once it all came out, Valve took down the malicious links. Apex Legends Mobile Fake APK. When Apex Legends blew up in 2019, tons of people started looking for a mobile version for Android. The problem was that Apex Legends Mobile didn't actually exist yet at that point, and scammers jumped on that right away. Fake Apex Legends. Mobile installers started popping up everywhere on YouTube, APK sites, gaming forums all over the place. Users were promised a full mobile port, early access, or a leaked beta version, but in reality it was all just a scam. Most of the time after downloading, people got dumped into endless verification screens, ad pages, surveys, and prompts to install a bunch of other apps. Some of these APKs even ran flashy Apex Legends-style splash screens and menus to make it feel like a real game, but that's usually as far as it went. There were nastier versions too. Some installers acted like actual Trojans, flooding the phone with ads, automatically opening websites, and trying to sneak in other shady apps. The whole scheme worked so well simply because there was no official mobile version out yet. People wanted to play Apex on their phones so badly that they'd download APKs from pretty much any site they could find. Level 4. CIH, or the Chernobyl virus in-game disks, one of the most destructive computer viruses of the late 90s. It mainly infected Windows 95 and Windows 98 systems and was notorious for not just wiping hard drive data, but also overwriting the computer's BIOS. After that, the PC would often refuse to boot at all and turn into a useless brick. The virus ended up tied to the gaming industry because of infected demo disks and game files that it actively spread through. One of the most well-known cases was an infected demo of the shooter scene, which spread through a mirror info site. Users thought they were downloading a normal game demo, but along with it they got one of the most dangerous viruses of its time. CIH activated on April 26th, the anniversary of the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. That's exactly why the virus earned the nickname Chernobyl. At its peak, it infected millions of computers worldwide and caused a massive amount of data loss and broken systems. Dinostopia, a little known but really bizarre story from 2015 tied to Steam Greenlight. Back then, Steam let developers post their projects and get onto the platform through community voting. That's where a new game, called Dinostopia, showed up. On the project page, users were offered a download of the beta version through an external link, and that right there was the first red flag. The download wasn't happening through Steam itself, but from some third-party site. People who downloaded and ran the file didn't get a game, they got a virus. It locked the desktop, asked for admin rights, and in some cases just wiped out everything on the desktop. After that, a short message popped up on screen. Note, once infected, the system would start automatically promoting Dinostopia through Steam itself. Users noticed their accounts were leaving positive reviews without permission, giving the game high ratings, and even changing their profile setup to advertise the link to the infected file. Because of this, the virus started spreading through trust between friends on Steam. People saw recommendations from people they knew and assumed the game was legit. Once complaints started rolling in, Valve pulled the Dinostopia page and Steam Greenlight along with it. Sad Satan, one of the most famous and bizarre internet legends tied to horror games in the dark web. The game first surfaced in 2015 after the YouTube channel Obscure Horror Corner started posting playthrough videos of a game supposedly found on the dark web. The footage showed endless black and white corridors filled with unsettling imagery, set to distorted music, reversed audio tracks, and strange voices. During the playthrough, images tied to crimes, historical figures, and various disturbing themes would flash across the screen. Thanks to the atmosphere, the game went viral online almost instantly. But the creepiest part came later, when people tried downloading Sad Satan for themselves. Through links posted on 4chan, a supposedly real version of the game made its way online. Users started finding shock content inside the files, including real crime scene photos and other material of that kind. Some versions also contained suspicious .exe files that triggered antivirus alerts, system crashes, and weird computer behavior. The original version shown on YouTube was never fully released to the public, so to this day, nobody knows for sure what was actually in the real Sad Satan build. The Warden spyware anti-cheat in World of Warcraft. In the mid-2000s, Blizzard Entertainment rolled out an anti-cheat system in World of Warcraft called Warden. Officially, its job was simple find bots, cheats, and automation programs. But later on, Warden became the center of a pretty loud controversy. Security researcher Greg Hogland analyzed how the anti-cheat worked and claimed the program scanned data from the user's running processes and applications. The system could check text strings and program memory, application names, and even some URLs or browser content. To a lot of players, it seemed pretty weird that the game was quietly checking what was going on their computer outside of Warcraft itself. Blizzard denied all the accusations and stated that Warden only looks for known cheat programs and doesn't spy on users. TeslaCrypt, one of the most notorious ransomware viruses of the mid-2000s. But unlike most similar programs of that era, it specifically hunted not just regular files, but game data. Early versions of the virus searched for saves, mods, game profiles, and other files tied to titles like Minecraft, Call of Duty, and others. For some players, this was even worse than losing important documents because their computers held years of progress, rare mods, and massive mod packs. TeslaCrypt spread mainly through exploit kits on hacked websites. In some cases, all it took was visiting an infected page for the virus to quietly install itself on the system. Once infected, it encrypted files and demanded payment in Bitcoin for the decryption key. TeslaCrypt's story ended in a pretty unusual way. In 2016, the creators suddenly shut the project down and publicly released the master key for decrypting files. After that, security researchers quickly built free decryption tools, and many victims got their data back without paying a ransom. Nintendo DS Brick Trojan. Not long after the PSP viruses appeared, similar programs started spreading within the Nintendo community too. One of the most well-known examples was a Trojan called Taihin.nds, distributed inside an archive named Taihin.zip. The program disguised itself as a harmless hentai app for the Nintendo DS. After launching it, everything looked fine, the app worked, nothing seemed off, but in the background, the Trojan was quietly overwriting critical firmware data with junk. Once you turned the console off, the DS would never boot normally again and just showed a black screen. The device turned into a full-on brick. Later, another version showed up called ROMloader.nds. This time the virus was disguised as a ROM patching utility. But instead of doing anything with games, it once again wiped out the firmware data, and once it finished, it displayed an image of a brick wall, basically mocking the console's owner. These programs mostly spread through IRC chats, ROM sites, and forums dedicated to Nintendo hacking. Some versions of the virus were linked to a person going by the name Dark Vader. After the backlash and the community's harsh reaction, he even publicly apologized for spreading these programs.